Hello, it's me, Rick Miracle, with another video of my series Freemasonry and Satanism. This is video number 47 of 50, and it's going to be a several part series. I've got some press releases, some photographs, and Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, the Bible for the Masonic Lodges. By the way, that double-headed eagle is the symbol for Russia. So what I thought I would do in this particular video, and it should be quite interesting actually, but I looked up the word Kabbalah in the index, and as you can plainly see, there are two pages. All this here, these two full pages, is all that says Kabbalah. So those are references in this book. And as you know, I like to read from a book on my videos. I don't want you to believe me, so I read from different books. And what I did is I put little tabs on the top here of the pages where the Kabbalah was referenced. And I only did one side. I didn't do this side. I just did this list of the words Kabbalah. Maybe I'll get to the other side. Or you can find the book at a used book site on the internet. $25. I bought my second one, so now I have two of them. So let me get right to it. Share a little bit about this book here. There's Albert Pike. Anyways, Supreme Council of the 33rd degree for the Southern Jurisdiction of the United States, and is published by its authority of the ancient and accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry, Morals and Dogma. The biggest, I don't know if it's a complaint or issue, that I hear people say to me when discussing the issues in my videos is they say, Rick, I don't know what to believe. There's so many videos on YouTube and so many books and stuff in the newspaper, TV, movies. People just are confused. They don't know what to believe. And I believe if you look up the Protocols of Zion that I've been reading in my last few videos, you will see that that is one of the plans for the New World Order, is to create confusion, frustration, stress, even to the point that they said in their material, to the breaking point where people go nuts, lose their mind, give up, and accept the fate that they're going to be offered, the mark of the beast, slavery. So with that said, find my glasses here. I should get reading on this issue of the Kabbalah. And a lot of people know what the Kabbalah is. They know that Madonna's into the Kabbalah. They know it's one of the sacred practices of many of the Jewish people, the Hebrew religion. So with that said, let's find out what it's about. So page 9 seems to be the first reference page here. I misspoke. Page 88. Alright, the Tetris thus leads you not only to the study of the Pythagorean philosophers as to numbers, but also to the Kabbalah, which will aid you in discovering the true word and understanding what was meant by the music of the spheres. And all of the forces at men's disposal, or under man's control, or subject to man's influence, are all his working tools. Page 97. The Holy Kabbalah, or tradition of the children of Seth, was carried from the Chaldean by Abraham, taught to the Egyptian priesthood by Joseph, recovered and purified by Moses, concealed under the symbols in the Bible, revealed by the Savior to St. John, and contained entire under heroic figures analogous to those of all antiquity, and in the apocalypse of that apostle. The Kabbalists consider God as an intelligent, animated, living infinite. He is not for them either the aggregate of existences or the existence in the abstract, or being a philosophical definable, or being philosophically definable. He is in all, distant from all, and greater than all. His name is ineffable, yet this name only expresses the human idea of his divinity. What God is in himself is not given to man to comprehend. Page 104. One of the most mysterious pentacles of the Kabbalah, contained in the Enchiridion of Leo III, represents an equilateral triangle reversed, inscribed in a double circle. On the triangle are written in such a manner as to form the prophetic Tau, T-A-U, the two Hebrew words so often found appended in the ineffable name, and they have the characters of the ineffable name here, and Allion him, or the powers, and Teseboth, or the starry armies, and their guiding spirits. Words also which symbolize the equilibrium of the forces of nature and the harmony of numbers. Moving on down, and as you know, I just highlight certain issues here. The total of the Kabbalic sciences clearly indicates by the hieroglyphics of which this admirable name is formed the triple secret of the great work. Masonry, like all the religions, all the mysteries, Hermeticism, and alchemy, conceals its secrets from all except the adepts and the sages or the elect, and uses false explanations and misinterpretations of its symbols to mislead those who would deserve only to be misled, to conceal the truth from which it lights, light for them and to draw them away from it. Truth is not for those who are unworthy or unable to receive it or would pervert it. The teachers, even of Christianity, are, in general, the most ignorant of the true meaning of that which they teach. There is no book of which so little is known as the Bible. To most who read it, it is as incomprehensible as the Zohar. The Zohar was another ancient book found with all the details of the Kabbalah and mystic sciences. So Masonry jealously conceals its secrets and intentionally leads conceited interpreters astray. To the circle enclosing the central point, and itself traced between two parallel lines, a figure purely Kabbalistic, these persons have added the superimposed Bible and even reared on that one ladder with 3 or 9 rounds, and then given a vivid interpretation of the whole, so profoundly absurd as actually to excite admiration. I'm going to divert to something else. A paper I found about Albert Pike. And please bear with me on this video. I realize it may be slow and a little difficult to comprehend, but I think as a whole, it should prove my point that there's more to reality than what most people know. And there's more to reality that they don't want us to know. It's said it in their own words. Anyways, I'm going to talk about a paper here about Albert Pike. And I found it on the internet. How 3 world wars were planned to help establish the New World Order. And I just highlighted some material, so I'm not going to read it all. You can go look those words up. Based on a vision revealed to him by the devil, Albert Pike wrote out a blueprint of events that would play themselves out in the 20th century, with even more of these events yet to come. So Albert Pike was a general in the war between the North and the South in the United States. And so the 20th century would have been from 1900 to 1999, 2000. Who was Albert Pike? Albert Pike was born December 29th, 1809 in Boston, and went to Harvard, and then later served as Brigadier General of the Confederate Army. After the Civil War, Pike was found guilty of treason and jailed, only to be pardoned by fellow Freemason President Andrew Jackson on April 22nd, 1866. So if you're a Mason and you get arrested and this judge or the other people, the lawyers, are Masons, you're likely to get off. They do take care of each other. Okay, and then Andrew Jackson met with him the next day at the White House. Wow, pardon him and then come to the White House. On June 20th, 1867, Scottish Rite officials conferred upon Johnson the 4th to 32nd degrees. So in April 1886, the President Andrew Johnson met with Albert Pike, and looks like here, a little over a year later, they made him the 4th to the 32 degrees Mason. He later went to Boston to dedicate the Masonic Temple. This would be President Andrew Johnson. The only monument to a Confederate general in Washington, D.C. was erected to Pike's honor, and it can be found between the Department of Labor building and the Municipal building between 3rd and 4th Streets on D Street Northwest. It's going to get more interesting here. Like I said, I'm not reading it all. You can go online and look that up. It's only 6 pages. Grand Commander of North American Freemasonry from 1859 to 1891, Albert Pike. In 1869, he was top leader in the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK, which, as I said in my last video, A, if you know numerology, A equals 6, B is the second letter, so it's 2 times 6, 12. C is 3 times 6, the third letter, 18. So K, if you do the math, is 66. So I just thought it was interesting, FYI, that KKK is 666666. That's not evil, that's double evil. Anyways, in 1871, Albert Pike wrote the 861-page Masonic handbook known as the Morals and Dogma of the Ancient Accepted Rites of Freemasonry. Pike was said to be a Satanist who indulged in the occult. Wow, on my turn in this Freemasonry and Satanism series videos, that just took the 2 names I chose, Freemasonry and Satanism, book review 1 of 50, 2 of 50, and so on. So Pike was said to be a Satanist who indulged in the occult, and he apparently possessed a bracelet which he used to summon Lucifer, with whom he had constant communication. He was the Grand Master of the Luciferian group known as the Order of the Paladin, or Sovereign Council of Wisdom. which had been founded in Paris in 1737. Anyways, moving on. It was the cult of Satan that was introduced to the inner circle of the Masonic lodges. It was aligned with the Palladium and of the Templars. In 1801, Isaac Long, a Jew, so we got the Jewish people involved in this, bought a statue of the Baphomet, Satan, bought a statue of the devil, brought it to Charleston, South Carolina, where he helped to establish the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite. So a Jew, Isaac Long, brought a statue of the devil to Charleston, South Carolina, and he helped establish the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite. Huh. They don't tell you that in high school or college. Pike's right-hand man was Phyllis Walder from Switzerland, who was a former Lutheran minister, a Masonic leader, occultist, and spiritualist. Pike also worked closely with Giuseppe Mazzini in Italy, 1805 and 1872, who was a 33-degree Mason, who became head of the Illuminati in 1834. So now we got the Illuminati and the Freemasons and the Jews and Satanism tied in this one page. Oh my God. Who founded the Mafia? Oh, we're adding the Mafia to this. In 1860, together with Mazzini, Lord Henry Palmerston of England, 33-degree Mason, and Otto von Bismarck from Germany in 1815 to 1898, 33-degree Mason. Albert Pike intended to use the Palladian Rite to create a satanic umbrella that would tie all the Masonic groups together. So, going into this series of videos, of course I didn't read this letter, but it certainly seems that my up to 47 videos and everything I've been trying to show, that there's something more to reality than people don't know, or what they don't want people to know. Psychic research, remote viewing, the things I have done the videos on. It was meant to tie everything together. Because of Mazzini's revolutionary activities in Europe, now we got revolutionary activities. That would be the Bolsheviks or the Reformed Jewish people. And in the United States here, where they're trying to take away the guns and doing lots of other things like economic chaos, which Alan Greenspan did, they're trying to get revolution going in the United States of America, in my opinion, and the opinion of many others. Alright, so because of Mazzini's revolutionary activities in Europe, the Illuminati had to go underground. So moving on, 30-degree, let's see here, appointed Andrea Limi, 33-degree Mason, a banker from Florence, Italy, to run their subversion activities in Europe. So with global warming and global cooling and climate change and sky spraying and HARP systems and staffing up the United States police departments like their military forces or SWAT teams, we can say that subversive activities are going on in the USA. Limi was a supporter of patriot and revolutionary Giuseppe Garibaldi and may have been active in the Luciferian society founded by Pike. Funny how a couple pages can tie so much together. Alright, every Masonic lodge is a temple of religion. And if you remember my New Age videos that I was doing because of the New Age Freemasonry pamphlets, they were trying to separate church and state, specifically the Catholic Church and Christianity. But it says here, every Masonic lodge is a temple of religion. And again, you can look this up by typing 3 world wars were planned to establish the New World Order website. And everything here may not be true. But it's just an opinion I found. It has some information in it that's relevant to what I'm doing. So I thought it would be worth pondering and contemplating. The true name of Satan, the Kabbalists say, is that of Yiva reversed. For Satan is not a black god, Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to a spirit of darkness. Lucifer, O son of the morning. It is he who bears the light, doubt it not. Okay, it says here, the blue degrees are all but the outer court of the temple. Part of the symbols are displayed there to initiate, but he is not intentionally misled by false interpretations. It is not intended that he shall understand them. These are the new initiates. So like we always say, you know, we talk about the Freemasons, and your friends will say, or family will say, well, my uncle was a Freemason, or my brother was a Freemason. Well, it says right here, it is intended that he shall imagine he understands them. It says here that they deceive all the recruits. It's a standing army of all these people and their forces who don't really know what's going on. If it was a big sign out front said Church of Satan instead of Scottish Rite, who would join? In 1859, Albert Pike was fascinated with the idea of a one-world government. Albert Pike was fascinated with the idea of a one-world government. Was chosen to coordinate Illuminati activities in the United States. He said they needed to create a political party that would keep the world fighting until they could bring peace. So all this chaos and anarchy we are seeing, gun shootings, 9/11, Oklahoma City bombing, and wars, and all this, they are bringing us this chaos to wear us down, so we'll accept it when they offer the peace. I don't know if you ever saw any of those Chicago old movies where the thugs would go in there into a shop and smash everything and slap the owner around, and then leave, and then this other nice guy would come along and say, you know, you pay us a monthly fee and we'll protect you. They would do that to all the shop owners and business owners. And it was and the people that went in there and smashed everything and roughed them up were the same people he was going to protect them from. It's called extortion. He said they needed to create a political party that would keep the world fighting until they could bring peace. Pike said it would be done. Okay, so moving on. With tongue and pen, with all our open and secret influences, with the purse, and if need be, with the sword. That's how they're going to get it done. In a letter dated January 22, 1870, Mazzani wrote to Pike, according to Pike's new and reformed Palladian rite, we must allow all the federations to continue just as they are, with their systems, their central authorities, and their diverse modes of correspondence between high grades of the same rite, and organized as they are at the present. But we must create a super rite, which will remain unknown, to which we will call those Masons of high degree whom we shall select. With regard to our brothers in Masonry, these men must be pledged to the strictest secrecy. Through the supreme rite, we will govern all Freemasonry, which will become the one international center, the more powerful because its directions will be unknown. Okay, 3 World Wars, page 4. As do most occultists, Albert Pike had a spirit guide who dispensed divine wisdom and enlightened him regarding how to achieve the New World Order. A spirit guide is a being who meets someone who has given themselves over to the practice of the occult. However, people who are practitioners of the New Age religion do not view this as a bad thing. Giving yourself over to a spiritual being. We know in the Bible, in one of my videos, that Jesus in the Bible at least cast out 12 demonic spirits in people. Alright, people do not view this as a bad thing. In fact, they would strongly argue that they are filled with happiness and joy. I hear the word joy all the time. Life's too short. Don't pass by joy. It's posted on light posts in the city where I live. By interacting with their spirit guides, not realizing that they have been temporarily deceived by Satan, who along with his demons can appear as an angel of light in order to deceive. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into the angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing if he ministers also to be transferred as the ministers of the righteousness. That's in Corinthians 11-14 it says here. One message that Albert Pike received from his spirit guide, which was in reality we know to be a demonic vision, he described in a letter that he wrote to Manzini, dated August 15, 1871. This letter graphically outlined plans for 3 world wars that were seen as necessary to bring about the one world order. We can marvel at how accurately it has been predicted. It has predicted events that have already taken place. This is not because the devil has powers of prophecy, but because his agents have undertaken to manipulate political events to closely follow his designs. For a short time, this letter was on display in the British Museum Library of London, and it was copied by William Guy Carr, former intelligence officer for the Royal Canadian Navy. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsars of Russia. Well, that would have been the Russian Revolution in 1917. And of making the country a fortress of atheist communists. Is that what we have in Russia today? The divergences caused by the agent or the agents of the Illuminati between the British government and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. So this is the First World War. And those are exactly the forces and the causes of that war. Communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. And if you've been watching my videos, after World War I, they shipped over thousands and thousands, maybe a million, or I don't know, of the Yiddish, Russian, Bolshevik, Jewish type people. And they proceeded immediately to start implementing pursuits of communism in the United States. And it was a big issue. They had hearings on it, and it was quite intentional, with a lot of backing by the money banksters. Specifically Rothschilds, who in 1913, before World War I, with President Woodrow Wilson, formed the Federal Reserve on December 23rd, 1913, while Congress was on vacation, and that gave them control over the money supply, hence control over the politicians, hence control of the United States to create the Great Depression and other depressions, where they would feed money into society to get everything bloated and everybody wealthy, and then pull the money back, supply it. Everybody couldn't pay their bills, would default on everything they had purchased, and the banksters and other powerful people would pick up these properties and assets on pennies on the dollar. It was intentional, if all this is correct. Communism will be built in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. Students of history will recognize that the political alliances of England on the one side and Germany on the other, forged between 1871 and 1898, so political alliances in Germany and England, by Otto von Bismarck, co-conspirator, of Albert Pike, were instrumental in bringing about the First World War. In 1917, at Fatima, before the end of the First World War, and before the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, the Blessed Virgin Mary predicted the rise of Russia as a major power that would be used as a scourge by God to punish an apostate world. The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantages of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that the Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionists be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. And we see what all kinds of anarchy and chaos that is bringing. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would then be restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. 1917, the Fatima of the Blessed Virgin Mary predicted the end of the First World War and the coming of the Second, and after the Second World War, communism was made strong enough to begin taking over weaker governments. In 1945, at the Potsdam Conference between Truman, Churchill, and Stalin, a large portion of Europe was simply handed over to Russia. That would be at the end of World War II. And on the other side of the world, the aftermath of the war with Japan helped to sweep the tide of communism into China. Alright, here's the bad part. Well, they're all bad. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantages of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between political Zionism and the leaders of the Islamic world. So don't let them or make them let you believe that the Islam people are terrible or evil, because these Illuminati people are sending their own agents, whether you call them Al-Qaeda or ISIS or ISIL or any other names they use, Hamas. You notice they always wear a mask and they're well armed and well financed. It's turmoil and chaos intentionally caused. I was sitting outside and a neighbor walked up with the dog. So back to the paper. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists. We shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, hence the gay agenda, the New Age agenda. Just think positive. Time's too short. Make sure that you're living for joy. Don't worry about these issues. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries. That's what all these programs are. World minority of revolutionaries. And the world citizens will have to defend themselves. Will exterminate those destroyers of civilization. So they're saying the decent moral people who are not part of the New Age or the gay agenda or the other agendas and all that will destroy the destroyers of civilizations. And the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an idea, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. Well, there's more here to read, and maybe I'll read it, but let's talk about the public view of the devil, shall we? In one of my past videos, we discussed a little statue they want to put up in Oklahoma. If you can believe this. Look it up on the internet, believe it for yourself. May 3rd, 2014, the satanic statue cast in bronze is just months away from the completion, and activists hope that it will find a home on the lawn of the Oklahoma State Capitol. Ultimately, the statue, which features the 7-foot-tall horned figure of Baphomet, like they said in Albert Pike's letter, fawned upon by two exuberant children, is intended to stand directly next to a highly controversial monument of the Ten Commandments that was donated to the state legislature in 2012. So we have the Ten Commandments on display. So these revolutionaries talked about in Albert Pike's letter want to have the devil put up there. The baffling figure, complete with the goat head, angel wings, and beard, comes from the recently formed New York group identifying as the Satanic Temple. Slightly unbelievable. You wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it. We're just now getting our first look at what the statue will look like thanks to images of the mold released by the Satanic Temple this week. Unfortunately for the activist group's aims, there hasn't been much progress on the securing a spot for the statue in the capital of Oklahoma, one of the most Christian states in the U.S. The American Civil Liberties Union is currently challenging the Ten Commandments statue in court on grounds it violates the Constitution, established clause against the national religion, and Oklahoma has prohibited applications for additional statues pending the completion of that case. Now, what I would like to point out is with this statue is that round thing where his hand is pointing up. There's a round circle with the star. Do you see that, the round thing with the star? Put that in your mind. Keep that in your mind. Because we're going to talk about that. So also in my videos this year, we have discussed Oprah, Bill Clinton to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Look that up on the internet. So, let's see here. Former President Bill Clinton is headed back to the White House just for a day. And Oprah is coming too. Clinton and Oprah Winfrey will be among 16 people that President Barack Obama will venerate this year with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the White House announced Thursday. They'll be joined by other prominent people to be honored this year, including musicians, scientists, activists, and even an astronaut. 50 years ago, President John Kennedy created the medal, the highest honor to the U.S. bestows on civilians, with the stroke of a pen to an executive order. In the 5 decades since, more than 500 people have been recognized for contributions to society of all stripes. This year's honorees have been blessed with extraordinary talent. Bill Clinton? Anyways, remember the circle with the star? The star is outside the circle. The pentagram, which is the satanic symbol, is the red. The eagle is represented by Albert Pike's book as the devil Mendes. And the 13th satanic number is the number of stars in the circle. So like I said before, see the circle and the star? The circle and the star. It doesn't matter that it extends outward. We'll see that shortly. We've seen it on some of my other videos. Apparently, some of the other people who got it, Daniel Inouye, I can't say his name, former senator of Hawaii, Ben Bradley, former executive of the Washington Post, Sally Ride, the first American to fly in space. Alright, and we know that they have plans with the Georgia Guidestones. I went there last month. Some gigantic stones like Stonehenge. look that up, because here's what they say they want to do. The message of the Georgia Guidestones: maintain humanity under 500 million people. There's almost 7 billion, so I suppose a lot of people have to die. Guide production wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Unite humanity with a new living language. Rule passion, faith, and tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Anyways, there's more here. Balance personal rights with social duties. Prize truth, beauty, love, and seek harmony with the infinite. And it was donated anonymously. I have some words I can't say. By a guy named R.C. Christian. You can see here by my hand. That would be the Rosicrucians in Albert Pike's book, in my opinion. So let's get back to Albert Pike's book a little bit. The teachers, even of Christianity, are in general the most ignorant of the true meaning of that which they teach. There is no book of which so little is known as the Bible. So it doesn't sound like Albert Pike is a big fan of Christianity. Like what it says in his letter, and the statue they want to put on the Oklahoma State House. So Masonry jealously conceals its secrets and intentionally leads conceited interpreters astray. To the circle enclosing the central point, itself traced between two parallel lines, a figure purely Kabbalistic. So a circle with a little dot in the middle, with a line above and a line below, has a Kabbalistic secret meaning. Alright, page 202. The North Star, always fixed and immutable for us, represents the point in the center of the circle. There we go again. So the North Star, the first star you see at night, the brightest one that's in the north, always fixed and immutable for us, represents a point in the center of a circle. So you take a circle and put a dot in the middle, that's the North Star, or the deity in the center of the universe. So that's what the circle with the dot means in the hieroglyphics or other symbols, satanic, is the circle with the dot in the middle is the deity in the center of the universe, or the North Star, which is a symbol for the deity in the center of the universe. You will learn hereafter, if you should be permitted to advance, we're talking to initiates, when you are made acquainted with the philosophical doctrines of the Hebrews, the morning star rising in the east, Jupiter, called by the Hebrew Tazdok, which is an emblem for us for the ever-approaching dawn of perfection and Masonic light. The three great lights of the lodge are symbols to us of the power, wisdom, and benefits of the deity. They are also symbols of the first three separate or emanations of the deity according to the Kabbalah. There are also the columns, Jacqueline, and bows that stand at the entrance of all the Masonic lodges, temples. Page 266. Unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God. But unto men that are without, all these things are done in parables, that seeing they may see and not perceive, and hearing they may hear and not understand. So when President Obama gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom, people didn't understand what was going on. The sources of our knowledge of the Kabbalah doctrines are the book of Jezreth and Sohar, the former drawn up in the 2nd century, and the latter a little later. but containing materials much older than themselves. In their most characteristic elements, they go back to the time of the exile. That would be when the Jews were exiled. In them, as in the teaching of the Zoroaster, everything that exists emanated from a source of infinite light. Before everything existed the Ancient of Days, the King of Light. The title was given to the Creator in the Zen Avesta and the Code of the Sabans. With the idea so expressed is connected with the pantheism of India. The King of Light, the Ancient of all that is. He is not only the real cause of all existence, he is infinite. He is himself. There is nothing in him that we can call thou. Page 321. Moving on here. The apocalypse is to those who receive the 19th degree, the apotheosis of the sublime faith which aspires to God alone, and despises all the pomps and works of Lucifer. Lucifer, the light-bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning, it is he who bears the light, with its splendors, intolerable, blinds, feeble, sensuous, and selfish souls. Wow. So we know it's in their book, and they are the firm, staunch supporters of separation of church and state, and it seems to me they have a very serious religion unto themselves, which they call a religion. But it's not to God and Jesus or anything good, it's to Lucifer, chaos, and anarchy. The apocalypse sums up, completes, and surpasses all the science of Abraham or of Solomon, the visions of Ezekiel by the river Shebar, and the new symbolic temple are equally mysterious expressions veiled by figures of the enigmatic dogma of the Kabbalah, and their symbols as are little understood by the commentators as those of Freemasonry. Let's just do one more. This is going to be a two-part video, so I wanted to try to do that one whole column in a video. Okay, here we go. In the Kabbalah of the Hebrew, the Jewish people, traditional philosophy, the infinite deity beyond reach of the human intellect, and without name, form, or limitations, was represented as developing himself in order to create and by self-limitation into 10 emanations or outflowings called the separate or rays. So maybe I ought to read that again so it makes more sense. In the Kabbalah, or the Hebrew tradition philosophy, the infinite deity, beyond the reach of human intellect, and without name, form, or limitation, was represented as developing himself in order to create, and by self-limitations, in 10 emanations or outflowings called separate or rays. According to Philo of Alexandria, the Supreme Being, primitive light or archetype of light, uniting with wisdom, the mother of creation, forms in himself the types of all things and acts upon the universe through the Word. So there you have it, about half of that done. So I thought I would just switch to something where they talked about the Sephiroth and the 10 emanations of rays. So I thought I would do my picture thing. And apparently online, they have a free Kabbalah astrology tool you can use. And this stuff goes way back. And there's the Sephiroth. The magician there is holding the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 circles on the pole. That's the Sephiroth, the 10 emanations or rays of the divine. Some kind of path. Here's a little thing that was on the Kabbalah image website. All these pictures, as you know, how I get them. And it says, Masonic Kabbalah Gospel gives you immortal life. Endure hardship for the gospel. Good news according to the power of God. Who hath saved us, which was given us in Christ Jesus before the world began. Made manifest by the appearing of our Savior Jesus Christ, who hath abolished death and had brought the life and immortality to light through the gospel. This is eternal life, that they may know you, the only true God, and the one you have sent, Jesus Christ. For this incorruptible must be put on incorruption, and this mortal must be put on immortality. Just stuff I found on the Kabbalah site. Here's a little card here. The guy and the girl are sitting talking above, and he goes, you can actually tap into them, use the Sephiroth to manipulate aspects of God's creation. That's more or less what magic is. Well, come on, how does it work? That's what the man says. Well, come on, how does it work? Well, apparently the Sephiroth, the 10 emanations, are like the 10 fingers. And the left hand is the feminine and the right hand is masculine. If you hold them out in front of you, you can feel the magnetic powers and communicate with God and get things accomplished that you wish. Just my interpretation, brief one. The power of the Kabbalah, 13 principles to overcome challenges and achieve fulfillment. You can look this stuff up on the Kabbalah Images website. The way, using the wisdom of Kabbalah for spiritual transformation and fulfillment. The simple and practical wisdom I have gained by the reading this book, studying Kabbalah, is immeasurable. Madonna. So that's Madonna's testament to that. Here was an interesting picture I saw. That's the Sephiroth. And I guess that's something else that represents that mountain. Symbols of the Kabbalah, philosophical and psychological perspectives. What does the Kabbalah say about me? Get to know yourself better. Learn to deal with your happiness. Achieve lasting happiness. Learn to deal with yourself. Based on the famous book of Mesilent Yesharim, authored by the famous thinker and Kabbalistic Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, known as the Ramchal. In this work, which is based on the Kabbalah, he gently guides the reader through the various levels of character refinement. Every Sabbath after Mincha. So it's a Jewish thing. So I guess you go to school and learn how to improve yourself with the Kabbalah. There's another picture of the Sephiroth, like the 10 fingers. The bottom would be Hades, I suppose, and the top would be heaven, the sun, and the different meanings as you go up the scale. I haven't studied much of the Kabbalah. Here's somebody's little learning tool. Again, these pictures I found on Kabbalah. Here's another Sephiroth. Limitless. Nothing. The Kabbalah's Tree of Life. It's also called the Tree of Life. There's a star here. And if you know the Jewish star on the Israeli flag, it's the 6-pointed star with the lines above and lines below. Another Kabbalist code thing with the words there. And a Tree of Life with the symbol for the New Age group and the gay agenda, the rainbow. And then the crown we see everywhere. And then you see the sun and the triangles. Everything Kabbalah book. Explore this mystical tradition from ancient rituals to modern day practices. So that's enough of that for now. And I thought I would get back and finish this thing about Albert Pike working towards World War I, II, and III in 1800s. Sent a letter that was on display at the London Museum, and apparently it disappeared. So it says here, Lucifer brought finally out in the public view. You saw the statue they want to put in Oklahoma. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Destruction of Christianity and atheism. So they're going to pit the New Agers and the gay agenda and all the other people that don't want to believe in God against the Christian God believers. And I suppose they're going to both kill each other, as the plan by the Illuminati, Lucifering is their God. Since the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, world events in the Middle East show a growing unrest and instability between the Jews and the Arabs. This is completely in line with the call for a third world war to be fought between the two and their allies on both sides. So this is the opinion of this person who posted this on the website. Let's see if he has a name here. Volumes/amazing resources, Walter. 3 world wars were planned to establish the New World Order. I don't see a signature name here. The real force behind Freemasonry. On July 14th, 1889, 2 years before his death, Pike issued the following statement to the 24 Supreme Masonic Councils of the world who are meeting in Paris. That which we must say to the crowd is, we worship a God, but it is the God who one adores without superstition. To you, Supreme Grand Inspectors General, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32 and 31st and 30th degree. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the high degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. So if you're 30, 31, and 32, you believe in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. If Lucifer were not God, or Adonai, the Hebrew word for Lord, which refers to Yahweh, the God of Israel, whose name they avoided using, whose deeds proved his cruelty, perfidy, and hatred of man, barbarism, and repulsion for science, would Adonai and his priests calumniate him. Whatever that word means. Yes, Lucifer is God, and unfortunately Adonai is also God. For the eternal law is that there is no light without shade, no beauty without ugliness, no white without black. For the absolute can only exist as two gods, darkness being necessary to light, to serve as its foil, as the pedestal is necessary to the statue, and the brake is to the locomotive. Well, if you take that argument, I think you're a little bit off your rocker. So the whole thing about God is that it's the same as a statue that sits on its pedestal. I don't think the statue needs to sit on a pedestal. Or the brake is to the locomotive. There's all kinds of different brakes you could get. Thus, the doctrine of Satanism is a heresy. So they're saying believing in Satanism is a heresy. It's not true. And the true and pure philosophical religion is the belief in Lucifer. The equality of Adonai, but Lucifer, God of light and God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, the God of darkness and evil. The blessed, only I can help you. So there you have it. I'm going to read some more of the material from the Albert Pike's book, Morals and Dogma. Make a part 2 out of this, maybe a part 3. And more pictures and more press releases. And show, without a doubt, there's something more than meets the eye here. This is what these people believe. The whole thing is a conspiracy. Disarming America is a plan. They have to. Causing the chaos between the different groups is a plan. They have to. They plan on getting everybody kill each other. It is apparently, I guess, good proof that Lucifer really hates humanity and wants to see it destroyed. I'm not trying to bring a religious argument to the series Freemasonry and Satanism. I'm trying to say there are people behind the scenes running our world and doing things that are not in our good. For example, when the economy is robust, they're shoveling money into it. But they're not doing it for our good. They're doing it so that people get fat. They get wealthy. They have something. Then they pull it back. And all those people that bought houses or land or started businesses and had mortgages lose everything. And all that work is taken away. All those improvements by the banksters and these people who run the show, knowing nobody can pay for it. So every 20, 40, 50 years when they want to reap a large bushel of money, a truckload, a train load, all they have to do premeditatively is funnel money into, like they did with the low interest rates around 9/11 and after. They knew what they were doing. They were distracting everybody. Some people I knew had 17 houses, flippers. The people knew what they were doing. Then you see them 10 years later and they lost everything. Who got it all? Who's getting it all? And why? They talk about it in the Protocols of Zion. They talk about it in many of the books and articles I've been discussing in my videos. So the point that I would like people to think about, contemplate, is the fact that there is something going on behind the scenes, and the people who are in office and running the show aren't looking out for our interest. I guess you could say that they're just trying to survive in their way for their wealth, and they care only about themselves. They wouldn't sacrifice their position as a senator or a representative or anything else to get the truth out. It's not their worry, so they think. Anyways, thank you for watching my videos, and I'll make another one on the series of Morals and Dogma, Albert Pike. The Bible for the Freemasonries. And the Kabbalah. May God help us all. We're going to need it.